I need you to pick up your pens. Page 5, Roman numeral 3 talks about applications, and I want you to write this down for me. HMDA is an application regulation. HMDA is an application regulation. Now, I just got done telling you that we look at originations, right? That's how we determine what we're subject to HMDA. But once you say, yes, our institution is subject to HMDA, now it applies to all applications. So that's the first point I want you to get at. HMDA is an application regulation. What do I mean by that? It applies to all applications that are subject to this reg. And I'm going to get more details in a little bit. But whether you deny it, you make it, it's closed for incompleteness, withdrawn, doesn't matter. You're going to report all of these. And that's where it's different than the coverage test. Once you're subject to it, you have to go. The other thing I want you to write down, again, HMDA is an application regulation. So number 1, report all applications. Number 2, you're going to collect demographic information at the time of application. I'll say it again. You're going to collect demographic information at the time of applications. So it's an application regulation is what I'm trying to drive home here. We'll get to collecting demographic information in just a little bit. And then number 3, I want you to write this down. Sometimes things change. It may have started out looking like HMDA, and later on in verification process, we find out it isn't. Or we didn't think it was HMDA, and we find out that it is. Sometimes things change. And I'm going to talk more about that. So what do you do in those situations? Or maybe you have some questions for us. Be sure to, again, type those into the Q&A button. We'll get to those. All right. So what is an application? This is kind of interesting. If I was talking to people about Compliance 101, you would probably hear me say, never take one reg's definitions and apply it to another. That's kind of a basic rule of compliance. You don't take definitions from one reg and put it in another. But HMDA, they actually point to Reg B. Reg C is HMDA. And they actually say, listen, we're not going to repeat everything about what an application is because we already do that in Reg B, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So just go look at it. Excuse me. However, you'll notice that this definition in italics talks about an oral or written request for a covered loan. That's a little different than Reg B. In Reg B, it'd be request for credit. Here it's for a covered loan, meaning we have to have a dwelling, we have to have a purpose. We're going to get to those. But made in accordance with the procedures, that's verbatim right out of Reg B. What I want you to catch is there is no definition for a completed application. HMDA doesn't care if an application is complete or not. They want you to be collecting and reporting on incomplete apps, denied apps, maybe because it's incomplete. Maybe they started it and it's withdrawn. I'm going to call this initial applications. That's not technically in the regulation B or C, but this is that initial request, not I've got 6 items for TRID. That HMDA's lower bar than that. This is a request for credit. Now, when it says made in accordance with your procedures, you could argue like, we don't take verbal applications. They have to go through our website or they have to fill out a form and bring it in. That's okay. That would be your procedures. But the amount of information and in the sense of what you're looking for is really leading up towards a completed application, which is not defined or necessary for HMDA. So I need you to do a paradigm shift here of saying, well, no, we make sure that we have all this before we call it an app. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have that right. This definition says it's the initial, not the completed, and we'll show you that more later when we get into pre-approvals and some other action taken codes. That'll be next week.